Super Typhoon Nando, known internationally as Regasa, struck with sustained winds above 215 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 295 kilometers per hour, sweeping across northern Philippines. The system, classified as the 14th tropical cyclone of the 2025 season, made landfall in Cagayan province and severely impacted the Babuyan and Cagayan islands. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, Regasa, confirmed that Nando intensified as it approached the country. As a result, the highest tropical cyclone wind signal number 5 was raised, warning of life-threatening conditions. The typhoon reached Panuatan at 3 p.m. on Monday, September 22nd, and quickly extended toward Cagayan Island. A bulletin issued at 2 p.m. already recorded sustained winds above 215 kilometers per hour and gusts of 295 kilometers per hour. These conditions devastated not only the Babuyan Islands, but also mainland areas in northern Luzon. Signal number 4 covered southern Batanes, northern mainland Cagayan, and northern Ilocos Norte. Meanwhile, under signal number 3, the rest of Batanes, central Cagayan, Apayao, and parts of Ilocos Norte also faced destructive winds. But the worst was still to come. The sea became an additional threat. Regasa reported storm surges above 3 meters along the Ilocos Norte coast, with waves reaching up to 14 meters around Batanes and Babuyan, 12 meters along the northern Ilocos Norte coast, and 10 meters along the mainland Cagayan shoreline. These heights posed an imminent danger to fishers, coastal structures, and agricultural areas. The power grid also collapsed. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines reported significant damage to transmission lines. At 11:39 a.m. on September 22nd, Abra lost power after the Santa Bong line tripped. Shortly after, the Santa Ana line, serving 5 towns in Cagayan, also went down. Prolonged outages affected homes and hospitals, further complicating the emergency. Agriculture took an immediate hit. Sudden flooding destroyed rice paddies within minutes. Farmers in Cagayan lost entire harvests, posing a serious threat to regional food security. However, local authorities had accelerated evacuations ahead of the typhoon. More than 8,200 people in Cagayan and over 1,200 in Apayao were moved to temporary shelters, mainly schools and public buildings. Classes and work activities were suspended across 29 provinces, including the capital, Manila. Domestic flights were canceled, ferry services were halted, and fishing boats were barred from leaving port. Although these measures brought much of the economy to a standstill, they were deemed necessary to reduce loss of life. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center, JTWC, confirmed that Nando was a super typhoon with winds up to 270 kilometers per hour and a well-defined 74 km wide eye. Moving west at 22 kilometers per hour, it quickly entered the South China Sea. Forecasts indicated the system would maintain its intensity for at least 24 hours, weakening only upon reaching cooler waters near China. The track placed it north of Hainan and then in northern Vietnam around September 25th. This meant the threat extended beyond the Philippines, affecting Southeast Asia as a whole. But the Philippines' vulnerability is not new. Its location in the Western Pacific makes it one of the most exposed countries on the planet, with an average of 20 tropical cyclones a year. Data from the previous season confirm this trend. 5 cyclones in just 2 weeks, 3 of them directly impacting Luzon and the Visayas. The consequences of Super Typhoon Nando were extensive. Widespread power outages, agricultural losses, mass evacuations, and infrastructure damage affected the country's north. In provinces such as Ilocos and Apayao, the southwest monsoon further intensified rainfall and increased the risk of flooding and landslides. The government declared a state of emergency. Rescue teams worked under extreme conditions to reach isolated communities. However, risks persisted due to saturated soils and high river flows. The scale of the disaster forced the suspension of activities across Metro Manila, where monsoon rains enhanced by Nando caused urban flooding that paralyzed roads and forced the evacuation of entire neighborhoods. Cities like Quezon reported streets turned into dangerous currents, with water levels reaching chest-high in some areas. The numbers kept rising. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, NDRRMC, reported more than 10,000 people evacuated in northern and central Luzon, although figures were preliminary due to disrupted communications. Meanwhile, international pressure grew. Neighboring places like Taiwan issued rain and wind advisories, despite not expecting a direct hit. Hong Kong and southern China prepared for mass evacuations, flight cancellations, and preventive airport closures ahead of the system's. Once again, the Philippines faced not only a natural disaster, but also a reminder of its fragile infrastructure and high exposure to climate change. Devastated rice fields, collapsed power lines, and displaced communities reflect a recurring reality year after year. With its passage through Cagayan and the northern islands, Super Typhoon Nando confirmed the high human, agricultural, and economic costs these events impose on the archipelago. The country entered one of its toughest tests of the season, with consequences that will persist over time and a complex recovery ahead for thousands of families.